All right, YouTube, so this is going to be the retesting of the Recon Scout in 3V. So I did a previous test with this with the factory edge, and it did really great. But it just didn't do as good as I thought it should. I have the Warcraft Tanto, and although the handle did not stay tight throughout the test, that performed very well. And I also have the Tanto 12 in Sami. That did wonderful. That really held an edge well. I've also tested the Trailmaster in Sami. Again, did very good. And so with my last test, I just didn't really feel that the factory edge held up as good as it should. And so I've redone the edge on this blade. I've done it with my 2x42 belt sharpener. I've backed up the edge and then made it relatively thin, and then I put a 40-degree inclusive edge on it with my work sharp equipment. I have something that's a lot nicer than this, but essentially it's just a bigger version of this. It's dropped up. It is shaving hair, and so I just want to demonstrate that real quick. So there's the hair. Here's some paper. It's a little windy. It's cutting paper very cleanly. All right, and so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to chop on this piece of dead wood for 1 minute. We'll see how the edge is, and then we'll continue adding 30-second blast. So here we go. Let's begin with 1 minute of chopping starting now. All right, so that's 1 minute. What's really interesting is the blade will start to warm up after you do that much chopping. It's actually a really decent chopper for the size. It's a, I believe it's a 7.5, 8-inch blade. It's not as big as the Trailmaster, but for its size, it's really a tank of a blade. So let's go ahead and see how well it cuts the computer paper. And it seems like with my edge, it's already developing some snags. One right there. And it's still cutting, going through. So, what I found with Carbon V 1095 blades is that sometimes they just simply won't make the test because they'll actually break. Other times they'll hold an edge, but they're almost gone. After another 30-second blast or so, they're pretty much done with a paper cutting edge, although they're very easy to get back shaving sharp. 1055 stays about as sharp as long as 1095 or Carbon V, but it's a lot tougher. And the big performers so far has been the 3V and the Sami. And what's gone beyond 1055, and also it's gone beyond Carbon V, is the 4034 steel with the kukri. which is a highly controversial result, but that's just what's happening. So let's go ahead and put on for a 30-second blast. Just with these tests, I've really enjoyed Cold Steel's Kraton handles. They just absorb a lot of shock. When you're playing around with the Warcraft Tanto, that thing will hurt your hand. Some of the Buffalo handles knives, like the big kukris, they'll also hurt your hand, and they're relatively thick as well. So let's see what it's doing on the paper. All right, so we still have some snags, and that's what I've seen a lot with 3V, is that they'll kind of start to develop snags, but it'll pretty much cut, not forever, that's hyperbole, but for a very long time. And so we have some snags, but it's still cutting well, so let's go ahead and do another 30-second blast. So right there, there's no visible edge deformation, but when you run it on the paper, you are getting some decent snags. All right, so obviously still very sharp. Let's go on for another 30 seconds. All right, let's see where we're at. Again, because of the handle size and also how great this Kraton feels, very little fatigue in the hand. Pretty significant snag right there. All right, so we're still good to go. Not sure if y'all can hear that, but it sounds like someone has a really horrible speaker in their vehicle and they're playing their music too loud. So there's that snag. So again, that's what I'm finding with 3V, is that it's going to cut for a very long time, but you'll develop a snag and it'll just pretty much have that, and that's the way it's going to go. And so let's go ahead and give it another 30-second blast. All right, let's see where we're at as far as shaving hair. It's definitely not shaving hair anymore. That was a good cut. There's where we're having the snag come through. Good cut. Snag. And it made it through. So let's go for another 30-second blast. We have some light vegetation over here, and it's still cutting light vegetation just like a champ, which is expected. That was a good cut. Snag. Snag. Snag right there. Great cut. Snag. Pretty decent snag. So it seems like the snag is becoming more prominent. I'm going to get another sheet of paper out. All right, we have a fresh sheet of paper. And there it is. Actually started to tear the paper that time. Here's the wind. That was a pretty good cut. So that's the thing, that this test kind of becomes a little subjective, especially with the really good stills that hold an edge for a very long time, which I guess is showing something objective. 3V is going to be able to hold a very good edge that will withstand a lot of impact for a long time. Better than 1095, better than 3V. excuse me, better than Carbon V, better than 1055, better than 4034. As far as wood goes, I'm not totally sure if it's absolutely as good as Samai. Here's the snag. If you move pretty quickly, you can get a pretty nice cut. So, I think that pretty much demonstrates the performance of 3V. I'm not sure if, how much time I've been chopping on this piece of wood. Let's see for how long. For about 16 minutes. I think I've pretty much demonstrated the point. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you another 30-second blast. We'll see what happens. And then we're going to see how quickly we can get the snags out with this field sharpener. So let's do one more 30-second blast. Those are some pretty good cuts right there. That one didn't have any snags at all. There's the snag. Snag. Good cut. Well, let's continue. Got a fresh piece of paper. Another 30-second blast. Just a quick visual inspection of the edge in the light. I can see maybe just a hint of some reflections, but it's not real bad. Pretty decent cut. You could fill snags, but still pretty decent. Start to rip the paper a little bit. Right there. So obviously this blade has a lot of life left to it. There's not a whole lot of change in the sharpness. Maybe the snag is just slightly worse. But what I'm going to do now is just give it a quick tune-up with a ceramic and leather, and we'll see where it's cutting. All right, it's popping here once again. So you see that? Let's see if we can capture some on the arm. So it's shaving once again. Let's see where we're at on the paper. As you can see, the snags are gone. So that's been really interesting. No matter if it's 10, 55, 3V, and everything in between. As far as the test goes, things dole out quicker, but so far everything's been able to get back to a razor's edge with just a few seconds of honing and stropping. And so no matter what you get, you know, I think one of the more important things is to get a steel that's going to be tough. I was very disappointed with my LTC made with carbon V and how it just exploded on me. There's been other knife channels that do way more abusive stuff than what I do. There's a YouTuber called Joe X. I really like his testing. It's almost fantastical what he does. I mean, you would never do some of the stuff that he does, but what he's finding is that a lot of 1095 blades are snapping. They're just snapping. And something like, you know, 1055, they're holding up very well. And so, so far my preferences, I really like 3V. I think it's very expensive. Sami is very good, but yet again, it's still very expensive. I'm really starting to lean to 1055. And I also, with what testing I've done so far, especially if you're going to consider like a tropical situation, I've really enjoyed my 4034 kukri, Gurkha kukri by Cold Steel. It's held a very decent edge. It's very easy to sharpen, and so far it seems very tough. And it's very unlikely that it's going to start rusting out on you unless you do something incredibly stupid with it. But again, this Recon Scout has done very well. It probably could have chopped a whole lot longer, but I wanted to demonstrate that first off, it's very tough. It held an edge for an extremely long time. My hand is not fatigued at all. I feel like I could probably chop all day with this, and it was very easy to touch up as well. So far, except with the fact that I like the Trailmaster a lot better than the Recon Scout, this Recon Scout is absolutely amazing, and if you can find one for about $200, I think you're getting a really good deal. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.